The mockery at Vega Station. The transport shuttle Endeavour drifted silently through the void toward Vega Station, humanity's destination gleaming like a jeweled crown against the cosmic darkness. Ambassador Elena Vasquez pressed her palm against the cool viewport, watching the massive structure grow larger with each passing moment. The station was a marvel of alien engineering, its crystalline spires and flowing organic curves representing technologies that humanity could barely comprehend. "First time seeing the real thing, Ambassador?" asked Dr. James Carter, settling into the seat beside her. As Earth's chief xenobiologist, he had spent years studying alien physiology from intercepted data transmissions. But like Elena, this was his first face-to-face encounter with the Galactic Trade Federation. "It's magnificent," Elena replied, her voice carrying a mixture of awe and determination. "Hard to believe we're finally here." She had spent the last 15 years of her diplomatic career preparing for this moment. Earth's first formal presentation to the galactic community. The chance to prove that humanity deserved a place among the stars. Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm system. "Docking in 10 minutes, people. Remember, we represent all of humanity today. Make us proud." Elena straightened her formal diplomatic uniform and reviewed her presentation materials one final time. Earth's achievements were impressive by human standards. They had achieved faster-than-light travel only 60 years ago, established colonies on 12 worlds, and developed defensive technologies that protected their space from pirates and raiders. Their kinetic weapons and chemical propulsion systems were reliable and effective. Most importantly, humanity had never lost a defensive engagement. The docking process was smooth, guided by station systems that seemed to read their ship's intentions before the pilot could input commands. As they walked through the airlock, Elena felt the weight of history on her shoulders. Every human who had ever looked up at the stars had dreamed of this moment. The station's interior was even more breathtaking than its exterior. Gravity flowed in different directions along curved walls, allowing beings with various physiologies to move comfortably. The air itself seemed alive, shimmering with energy fields that translated languages in real time and adjusted atmospheric composition for different species. "Welcome, humans," said a tall figure approaching their group. The being was humanoid but stretched upward like a tree, with bark-like skin that showed geometric patterns. "I am Growth Singer Vex of the Arborean Collective. I will escort you to the council chamber." Elena bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Growth Singer. We are honored by this opportunity." As they walked through the station's corridors, Elena observed the incredible diversity of life forms around them. Crystalline beings that looked like living gems floated past without touching the ground. Creatures made of pure energy pulsed with different colors as they communicated through light patterns. Massive insectoid beings moved with surprising grace despite their size. Each species represented thousands of years of technological advancement and galactic experience. "The Council Chamber of First Contact," announced Vex as massive doors opened before them. The room beyond took Elena's breath away. It was enormous, with seating arranged in concentric circles that seemed to defy gravity. Each section was designed for different types of beings, from those who needed water environments to others who existed as energy patterns. 15 different species were represented in the chamber today. Elena recognized some from her studies. The Zephyrians were clearly visible, their crystalline forms refracting light into rainbow patterns. The Nebulons existed as controlled clouds of gas, their thoughts visible as electrical patterns within their forms. The ancient constructors sat perfectly still, their metallic bodies showing no emotion that humans could recognize. "Humans," announced a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You stand before the Galactic Trade Federation. Present your case for membership." Elena walked to the center of the chamber, her team flanking her at respectful distances. She activated her holographic display, showing images of Earth and its colonies. "Honored representatives, humanity comes before you as a young but ambitious species. In just 60 years since achieving faster-than-light travel, we have established 12 thriving colonies and developed technologies that have kept our space free from hostile forces." The display showed human ships engaged in defensive battles against pirate fleets. The kinetic weapons fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds, while chemical rockets provided reliable propulsion. Human tactics emphasized coordination and adaptability rather than raw power. "Our weapons may seem simple compared to your advanced energy systems," Elena continued, "but they have proven effective in every engagement. We focus on practical solutions that work reliably under battlefield conditions." A sound echoed through the chamber that Elena gradually recognized as laughter. It started with the Zephyrians, whose crystalline forms chimed like wind bells. The Nebulons began pulsing with colors that their translation systems indicated as amusement. Even the usually stoic constructors emitted mechanical sounds that suggested humor. 60 years, said the Zephyrian speaker, its voice like music made of glass. The youngest member of this federation has been traveling between stars for over 3,000 of your years. Your entire species' spacefaring experience would be considered a brief learning period for our children. Tell us about these weapons you are proud of, added a Nebulon, its gaseous form swirling with what appeared to be condescension. Kinetic projectiles and chemical explosives. Do you still throw rocks at your enemies? Dr. Carter stepped forward before Elena could respond. Our technology may appear primitive, but it has proven remarkably effective. We believe in developing systems that work consistently, rather than pursuing theoretical maximums. This brought another wave of laughter from the assembled delegates. A constructor finally spoke, its voice a precise mechanical tone that somehow conveyed dismissal. Your most advanced warships carry less firepower than our cargo vessels. Your colonies exist only because no established species wanted those particular worlds. Elena felt heat rising in her cheeks but kept her voice professional. Perhaps military strength isn't the only measure of a civilization's worth. Humanity has much to offer in terms of creativity, adaptability, and determination. Creativity, repeated the Zephyrian with what sounded like amazement. Your species discovered faster-than-light travel by accident while trying to create more efficient cargo transportation. The mathematics involved are taught to our younglings as basic exercises. The Nebulon speaker added, your defensive victories that you display so proudly were against pirates using technology we discarded centuries ago. You have never faced a real military threat. Elena's diplomatic training kept her expression neutral, but inside she felt a growing anger. These beings were dismissing humanity without truly understanding what they were capable of. Before she could formulate a response, alarms began sounding throughout the chamber. Emergency lights bathed the room in pulsing red illumination. The chamber's communication systems activated, and a voice filled with panic spoke in the trade language that was instantly translated. All Federation forces, this is Deep Space Monitor Station Epsilon 7. We have confirmed emergence of Devourer bioships in the outer spiral sectors. Initial contact occurred at the Helios system. All planetary populations have gone silent. Estimated time to major population centers is 48 hours. The laughter died instantly. Elena had heard whispered stories about the Devourers during her xenological studies. Ancient predators that emerged from the dark spaces between galaxies every few thousand years. They consumed entire star systems, converting all matter into more of their bioships before vanishing back into the void. How many ships? Asked the constructor representative, all traces of condescension gone from its mechanical voice. Long-range sensors indicate at least 50 bioships, each approximately the size of a small moon. They are moving at speeds that exceed our fastest interceptors. The chamber erupted into multiple conversations as different species began coordinating response efforts. Elena noticed that none of these discussions included human space. Their colonies were located in the outer spiral, directly in the path of the approaching threat. What about evacuation support for the frontier colonies? Elena called out, her diplomatic protocol forgotten in the face of potential catastrophe. The Zephyrian speaker turned toward her with what might have been surprise. The frontier settlements are too distant from our core territories to justify resource allocation. Your worlds will need to attempt evacuation using your own limited transportation capacity. You're abandoning us, Dr. Carter said flatly. We are making tactical decisions based on military reality, the constructor replied. Your colonies have minimal strategic value and your ships cannot meaningfully contribute to Federation defense efforts. Resources must be allocated where they can achieve maximum effectiveness. Elena looked around the chamber and saw the same expression on every alien face that could display emotions. They viewed humanity as expendable, a minor species that had gotten lucky with technology and established a few unimportant outposts. When real danger appeared, humans were considered acceptable losses. I see, Elena said quietly. When you need real strength, suddenly our request for membership becomes irrelevant. The two matters are completely separate, the Nebulon stated. Federation membership requires demonstrated capability and strategic value. Your species has neither. Elena activated her personal communicator. Captain Rodriguez, prepare for immediate departure. We're returning to Earth. Ambassador, the Zephyrian called out. You are welcome to remain on Vega Station. Your personal safety can be guaranteed here while the Devourer situation is resolved. Elena turned back to face the assembled delegates one final time. Thank you for the offer, but humans don't abandon their own people when things get difficult. We'll face this threat together, as we always have. As the human delegation left the chamber, Elena heard the aliens returning to their defense planning. Massive fleets were being assembled, but none of them were heading toward human space. The Federation's strategy was to create a defensive perimeter around their most valuable worlds and let the outer territories serve as a buffer against the Devourer advance. During the shuttle flight back to their transport ship, Dr. Carter sat beside Elena in thoughtful silence. Finally, he spoke. They have no idea what humans are really capable of, do they? Elena managed a grim smile. No, they don't. They see our simple weapons and basic technology and assume that's all we have. They've never had to fight for survival the way humanity has. What happens now? Asked Captain Rodriguez over the comm. Now we go home and show the galaxy what happens when you underestimate the species that crawled out of a gravity well using chemical rockets and sheer determination, Elena replied. The Federation thinks human space is expendable. They're about to learn that humans have never been good at accepting impossible odds. As their ship engaged its faster-than-light drive, Elena stared out at the stars that had once seemed welcoming but now felt cold and hostile. Somewhere in the darkness, an ancient enemy was approaching human colonies with the intent to consume everything they had built. The galactic powers had written humanity off as acceptable casualties. They had no idea that humans had been preparing for this exact scenario since the day they first learned about the Devourers. While the Federation had grown comfortable with their superiority, humanity had been building something in the darkness that would change their understanding of what the primitive species was truly capable of. The real test was just beginning, and the galaxy was about to discover that underestimating humanity was a mistake that civilizations only made once. The hidden arsenal awakens. The frozen wasteland of the Kuiper Belt looked empty to anyone who might have been watching. Chunks of ice and rock drifted in eternal silence, appearing to be nothing more than cosmic debris left over from the solar system's formation. But appearances could be deceiving, especially when humanity had spent 30 years perfecting the art of hiding their greatest achievements. Captain Marcus Chen stood in the observation deck of what appeared to be a mining station, watching ice haulers move between asteroids in their routine operations. To any casual observer, this was simply another commercial operation extracting water and minerals from the belt. The workers went about their daily tasks with practiced efficiency, their activities generating just enough electromagnetic signature to mask the massive energy readings coming from deep beneath the asteroid's surface. Status report, Commander Hayes, Chen said without turning from the viewport. Commander Rebecca Hayes approached with a data tablet, her expression serious despite the momentous nature of what they were about to reveal. All primary systems show green across the board, Captain. The Titan has been running silent for 6 months, but we can achieve full operational status within 2 hours. Chen nodded slowly, still watching the ice haulers continue their cover operations. And the crew? All 3,000 personnel are aboard and have completed their final preparation cycles. They understand the significance of what we're about to attempt. Hayes paused, her voice dropping slightly. They also understand this might be a one-way mission. Through the observation deck's reinforced windows, Chen could see the first hints of what lay hidden beneath their feet. Massive construction cranes were already beginning to move away from the largest asteroid in the mining field. What had appeared to be solid rock was actually an elaborate camouflage system that had taken decades to perfect. Dr. Sarah Kim joined them at the viewport, her scientific instruments showing readings that would have been impossible to believe just hours earlier. Captain, the matter conversion drives are operating at optimal efficiency. Our gravitational manipulation systems are showing stability readings that exceed our most optimistic projections. Chen turned to face his senior officers for the first time. These men and women represented the best that humanity had to offer, selected from candidates across all of Earth's colonies, and trained in complete secrecy for a mission that most people believed could never happen. Ladies and gentlemen, today we stop pretending to be the primitive species that the galaxy thinks we are. He activated a holographic display that showed the hidden construction taking place around them. Project Prometheus was authorized 30 years ago, immediately after our first contact with galactic civilization. While the Federation laughed at our simple weapons and basic technology, we were building something that would redefine their understanding of what humans are capable of. The camouflage systems continued retracting, revealing the true scale of humanity's secret project. The UES Titan was 15 kilometers long and 4 kilometers wide, making it larger than most space stations. Its hull was composed of metamaterials that could absorb and redirect energy in ways that violated several supposedly fundamental laws of physics. Weapon systems covered its surface like the scales of some massive predator, but these were not the kinetic weapons that aliens associated with human technology. Dr. Kim, explain to the crew what we actually built while the galaxy wasn't watching, Chen ordered. Dr. Kim activated additional displays showing the ship's internal systems. The Titan represents a completely different approach to space combat technology. While other species focused on building bigger energy weapons and stronger shields, we spent 3 decades learning to manipulate the fundamental forces that govern reality itself. The holographic display showed the ship's primary weapon systems. Unlike the energy beams favored by galactic civilizations, the Titan's armaments worked by altering the basic properties of space and time. Matter conversion drives could transform asteroids into directed energy. Gravitational manipulation arrays could create artificial black holes or bend space to redirect enemy attacks. Most impressively, the stellar manipulation system could influence the behavior of stars themselves. The Federation assumes that advanced technology means bigger explosions and more destructive power, Dr. Kim continued. We learned that true technological advancement comes from understanding how the universe actually works at the quantum level. While they were building ships that could destroy planets, we built a ship that could manipulate the forces that hold solar systems together. Commander Hayes pulled up tactical displays showing the approaching Devourer fleet. Captain, we're receiving updates from Deep Space Command. The bioships have consumed 3 more systems in the past 18 hours. Current projections show them reaching the Centauri colonies within 36 hours. Chen studied the tactical data with growing concern. Centauri was humanity's largest colonial settlement, home to over 50 billion people across 12 worlds. It was also the location of several major Federation facilities, making it strategically important to the galactic powers who had just written off human space as expendable. What's the Federation response? He asked. Admiral Morrison reports that Federation fleets are pulling back to establish defensive perimeters around their core worlds. They're abandoning the outer territories completely. Hayes paused, her voice carrying barely controlled anger. That includes Centauri, 50 billion human lives, and they're not even sending a single ship. Dr. Kim looked up from her sensor readings with alarm. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the Devourer bioships. Their consumption rate is accelerating. They're not just harvesting resources anymore, they're converting entire planets into more vessels. Chen felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders like a physical force. The Titan represented humanity's greatest achievement, but it was also completely untested in actual combat. Everything they knew about the ship's capabilities came from simulations and theoretical models. They were about to face an enemy that had been destroying galactic civilizations for millions of years. Commander Hayes, begin bringing all systems online. Dr. Kim, I want full analysis of Devourer capabilities and weaknesses. We're going to Centauri. Sir, Hayes said carefully, our orders from Earth Command were to remain hidden unless human homeworld itself was directly threatened. Revealing the Titan's existence will fundamentally change humanity's relationship with the galactic community. Chen looked out at the hidden shipyards where dozens of smaller vessels were also beginning to power up. The Defiance, the Retribution, and 8 other ships that represented different approaches to the same revolutionary technology. For 30 years, humanity had been building a fleet that could challenge any force in the galaxy while pretending to be a minor species with primitive weapons. Commander, 50 billion humans are about to die while the species that laughed at us retreat to safety. We didn't build these ships to stay hidden. We built them to prove that humanity will never accept the unacceptable. The bridge began filling with activity as crew members took their stations. These were not the young recruits typically found on military vessels. Every person aboard the Titan was a volunteer who had trained for years in complete secrecy, knowing that their existence could never be acknowledged if they succeeded, and would definitely be forgotten if they failed. Dr. Kim, what do we know about Devourer biology and technology? Chen asked as final preparations continued around them. The bioships appear to be living creatures rather than traditional spacecraft. They consume matter and energy to grow larger and produce offspring. Their defensive systems include organic armor that adapts to different types of attacks, and their weapons seem to be evolved rather than designed. Dr. Kim paused as new data appeared on her displays. Captain, there's something else. The Devourers appear to be dependent on stellar radiation for their biological processes. They consume matter, but they need starlight for energy conversion. Chen studied this information with growing interest. What happens if you remove their access to starlight? Theoretically, their biological functions would begin shutting down within hours. But Captain, there's no way to block starlight from an entire star system. The energy requirements would be astronomical. Unless you had a ship that could manipulate stellar output directly, Chen said quietly. He turned to Commander Hayes. Status on the stellar manipulation array? Fully charged and ready for deployment, sir. But Captain, we've never tested it on anything larger than small stellar flares. What you're suggesting has never been attempted by any known civilization. Chen looked around the bridge at his crew. These men and women had volunteered for a mission that the rest of humanity didn't even know existed. They had trained for scenarios that other species would consider impossible. Most importantly, they shared the fundamental human characteristic that had driven their species from cave dwellers to star travelers in just a few thousand years. Open a channel to Earth Command, Chen ordered. Admiral Thompson's face appeared on the main screen, his expression showing the strain of coordinating humanity's response to an impossible situation. Captain Chen, what's the status of Project Prometheus? Admiral, the Titan is ready for full deployment. We have confirmed Devourer approach vectors towards Centauri. Request permission to engage. Thompson was quiet for a long moment. Behind him, Chen could see the controlled chaos of Earth's military command center as officers coordinated evacuation efforts and defensive preparations with resources that everyone knew were completely inadequate. Captain, you understand that revealing the Titan's existence will change everything. The Federation will never trust humanity again once they realize what we've been building in secret. Sir, the Federation just abandoned 50 billion human lives because they consider us expendable. I'm not particularly concerned about their trust. Thompson nodded slowly. Very well, Captain. You are authorized for full combat deployment. Show the galaxy what humans are really capable of. And Marcus, the Admiral's voice dropped to a personal tone, bring our people home. The communication ended and Chen turned to his crew for what might be the final time. All hands, prepare for emergency deployment. We are going to attempt something that has never been tried in the history of galactic warfare. The Titan's massive engines began their startup sequence, generating energy signatures that would have been visible from Earth if anyone had been looking in the right direction. Around them, the other ships of humanity's hidden fleet began powering up as well, their advanced systems coming online after years of patient waiting. Helm, plot a course for the Centauri system, maximum spatial fold velocity. Chen looked around the bridge one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, today we stop being the species that the galaxy thinks it knows. Today we become the force that changes everything. The bioships had arranged themselves in an efficient feeding pattern that maximized their exposure to stellar radiation while processing planetary matter. They were perfectly positioned for what he was planning, but the Titan would have to survive long enough to implement it. Commander Hayes, prepare to implement Protocol Helios. Hayes turned from her station with surprise. Protocol Helios was the most extreme of their theoretical battle plans, requiring the Titan to act as a lens between a star and its entire system. It had never been tested beyond computer simulations, and the risk of catastrophic failure was enormous. Sir, Protocol Helios requires us to position ourselves within the star's corona while maintaining gravitational manipulation across a sphere millions of kilometers in diameter. If our shields fail or the stellar array overloads, the ship will be vaporized instantly. What about the bioships? How will they react to sudden loss of stellar radiation? Dr. Kim pulled up biological analysis charts showing devourer physiology. Based on our observations, they should begin experiencing system failures within 2 to 3 hours. Their reproduction processes will halt immediately, and their existing bioships will start dying from energy starvation. Chen looked around the bridge at his crew. These men and women had trained for scenarios that other species would consider impossible. They had volunteered for a mission that most people believed could never happen. Most importantly, they shared the fundamental human belief that no sacrifice was too great when innocent lives hung in the balance. Open a channel to all stations, Chen ordered. His voice echoed throughout the massive ship as 3,000 crew members prepared for what might be their final battle. All hands, this is your captain. Today we face an enemy that has been destroying civilizations for millions of years. The galactic powers have declared our colonies expendable and retreated to protect their own worlds. Chen paused, looking out at the bioships that continued their systematic destruction of everything humans had built in the Centauri system. We are going to prove that humans have never been good at accepting the unacceptable. We're going to save 40 billion lives using technology that the galaxy doesn't believe we possess, and tactics that no rational species would attempt. The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency as the Titan began its approach toward the system's inner regions. Around them, massive bioships detected the approaching vessel and began orienting their weapon systems toward this new threat. Contact in 30 seconds, Hayes reported. Multiple bioships are targeting us with what appears to be organic disruptor beams. All power to forward shields. Dr. Kim, begin gravitational field generation as soon as we reach optimal position. The Titan shuddered as the first Devourer weapon struck its shields. The organic disruptor beams were unlike anything in Federation databases, designed to break down matter at the molecular level. But the Titan's metamaterial hull and quantum shield generators had been built specifically to counter exotic attack forms. Shield integrity holding at 93%, Hayes reported. Hull armor is adapting to their weapon frequencies. Chen watched the tactical display as more bioships converged on their position. The Devourers had never encountered an enemy that could withstand their primary weapons, and their coordination was beginning to falter as they tried to process this new threat. Approaching stellar manipulation range, Dr. Kim announced. Captain, once we begin the Eclipse Protocol, we'll be committed. The energy requirements will leave us unable to maneuver or maintain full defensive systems. Do it! The Titan's stellar manipulation array activated with a sound that seemed to come from the ship's very bones. Gravitational fields millions of times stronger than Earth's gravity reached out from the vessel and began reshaping space itself around the Centauri star. The star's light began bending and focusing according to mathematical equations that human scientists had spent decades perfecting. Gravitational lensing at 12% and climbing, Dr. Kim reported. The star's output is beginning to concentrate behind our position. Chen watched as the space around the Titan filled with focused starlight that would have instantly vaporized any conventional vessel. But the ship's quantum shields and metamaterial hull were designed to channel and redirect energy rather than simply absorb it. 30% lensing, Captain, the bioships are beginning to show signs of distress. Their bioluminescent patterns are becoming erratic. The Devourer fleet had realized what was happening, but their million-year-old tactics had no answer for an enemy that could manipulate the fundamental forces of physics. They increased their attack intensity, but the Titan's position between them and their energy source was already beginning to affect their biological systems. 60% lensing. Sir, we're creating a shadow zone that covers the entire inner system. The bioships are losing access to stellar radiation across their entire formation. Chen could see the effect on the main view screen. The massive bioships that had seemed invincible just minutes earlier were beginning to slow their movements. Their bioluminescent patterns were dimming as their energy conversion processes started failing. Communications, open a channel to any surviving Federation forces in the area. The image that appeared on screen showed Admiral Zenthara of the Crimson Fleet, the same officer who had mocked humanity's primitive weapons just days earlier. Her scaled features showed shock and disbelief as she tried to process what she was witnessing. Human vessel, this is Admiral Zenthara. How are you accomplishing this level of stellar manipulation? Our databases show no record of your species possessing such capabilities. Admiral, we're creating an artificial eclipse that's cutting off the Devourer's energy source. Their bioships should begin dying within the next 2 hours. We recommend that any surviving Federation forces prepare to assist with evacuation operations. Zenthara's expression shifted from disbelief to something approaching awe. Captain, that level of gravitational manipulation should be impossible for a single vessel. The energy requirements alone would exceed the output of most planetary power grids. Apparently your databases are incomplete, Admiral. Humanity has been developing these technologies while you were laughing at our kinetic weapons. 80% lensing achieved, Dr. Kim announced. Captain, we're now blocking approximately 95% of stellar radiation from reaching the bioships. Their movement patterns are becoming increasingly erratic. Chen watched as the Devourer fleet began to collapse in on itself. Bioships that had been systematically consuming planets just hours earlier were now drifting helplessly as their biological systems shut down. Some of the smaller vessels were already beginning to decompose as their organic hulls lost structural integrity. Sir, we're receiving communication attempts from the bioships, the communications officer reported with surprise. Put it through! The sound that came from the speakers was unlike anything Chen had ever heard. It was organic and electronic simultaneously, like the voice of a dying computer that had somehow become alive. When it spoke, the words seemed to bypass human ears and speak directly to their minds. Unknown vessel, you employ tactics that we have not encountered in 3 million years of feeding. How do you manipulate the light of stars? Chen felt a chill as he realized he was speaking with an intelligence that had been destroying civilizations since before humans learned to use fire. We learned that true strength comes from understanding how the universe works, not from having the biggest weapons. Your species shows capabilities that do not match our observational data. You were classified as a minor threat with primitive technology. Your observational data was wrong. Humans have a tendency to exceed expectations when innocent lives are at stake. The communication ended as more bioships began succumbing to energy starvation. Chen could see on the tactical displays that the Devourer fleet was disintegrating as individual vessels lost the ability to maintain cohesion. "Captain," Hayes reported with barely controlled excitement, "Federation reinforcements are beginning to arrive. It looks like Admiral Zenthara convinced her fleet commanders to return and assist with the evacuation." 100% stellar lensing achieved, Dr. Kim announced. "We've created a complete shadow zone across the inner system. No stellar radiation is reaching the bioships." Chen watched as the last of the massive Devourer vessels finally succumbed to the artificial eclipse. Ships that had consumed entire worlds just hours earlier were now lifeless hulks drifting through space. The threat that had terrified the galaxy for millions of years had been defeated by a single human vessel using tactics that no other species had ever imagined. "Dr. Kim, begin reducing the lensing effect gradually. We don't want to shock the star's fusion processes." As the Titan slowly restored normal stellar output to the Centauri system, Chen could see Federation ships moving to assist with evacuation and rescue operations. The same species that had dismissed humanity as primitive were now working alongside human vessels to save the survivors of the Devourer attack. The Titan's full drive engaged and space twisted around the massive vessel like reality being reshaped by pure willpower. In seconds, the ship vanished from the Kuiper Belt, leaving only empty space where humanity's greatest secret had been hidden for 3 decades. Behind it, automated systems began activating the rest of Project Prometheus. Ships that had existed only in theoretical designs began taking physical form as construction systems that had been dormant for years resumed their work. Humanity was about to reveal that while the galaxy had been laughing at their primitive weapons, they had been building something that would redefine the very concept of technological advancement. The Devourers were about to discover that the species they had dismissed as insignificant possessed something far more dangerous than superior technology. They had the imagination to attempt solutions that no rational civilization would consider, and the determination to risk everything when others needed protection. When Earth's sun went dark. The Centauri system was dying. Captain Marcus Chen watched through the Titan's main view screen as Devourer bioships moved through space like massive parasites, each one the size of a small moon. Their organic hulls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns as they systematically consumed everything in their path. 3 of the system's 12 worlds had already been reduced to scattered debris, their entire planetary mass converted into more bioships that joined the growing swarm. "Status report," Chen ordered as his crew worked frantically around him. Commander Hayes looked up from her tactical display, her face pale with the magnitude of what they were witnessing. 57 confirmed bioships, Captain. They're operating in a coordinated feeding pattern, processing matter at a rate that exceeds our worst projections. Current estimates show complete system consumption within 18 hours. Dr. Kim studied her scientific readings with growing alarm. "Captain, the bioships are using the star's radiation to power their conversion processes. They're literally feeding on starlight while digesting planetary matter. The combination is allowing them to reproduce faster than any biological system should be able to sustain." Through the view screen, Chen could see the remnants of the Federation fleet that had been stationed at Centauri. Massive warships that had seemed invincible just days earlier now drifted as lifeless hulks, their energy weapons having proven completely ineffective against the Devourer's adaptive armor. The few surviving ships were in full retreat, their crews broadcasting desperate warnings to anyone who might be listening. "Sir, we're receiving multiple distress signals from the planetary evacuation centers," reported the communications officer. 40 billion civilians are still trapped on the remaining worlds. Their transport capacity was never designed for this scale of emergency. Chen felt the weight of those numbers settle in his chest. 40 billion human lives, abandoned by the galactic powers that had considered them expendable. The Federation fleets had withdrawn to protect their core territories, leaving humanity's largest colonial settlement to face annihilation alone. "What about the Federation forces?" Chen asked. "Long-range sensors show them regrouping at the Vega defensive perimeter. They're preparing to make their stand there, approximately 50 light-years from here." Hayes paused, her voice carrying barely controlled anger. "They're not coming back, Captain." Chen nodded grimly. The same species that had laughed at humanity's primitive technology were now running from an enemy they couldn't understand or defeat. But humans had always specialized in finding ways to accomplish the impossible when others had given up hope. Dr. Kim, analysis of the devourer feeding pattern. You said they depend on stellar radiation for energy conversion? Confirmed, Captain. The bioships position themselves to maximize exposure to the star's output while processing matter, remove their access to starlight, and their biological functions should begin shutting down within hours. And our stellar manipulation array? Dr. Kim consulted her instruments with growing excitement. The array is capable of creating controlled gravitational lensing on a massive scale. We could theoretically focus or redirect the star's output, but Captain, what you're suggesting would require positioning the Titan directly between the star and the entire Devourer fleet. Can we create an artificial eclipse that covers the entire inner system? The energy requirements would be enormous, and we'd be exposing ourselves to concentrated fire from every bioship in the swarm. But yes, it's theoretically possible. Chen studied the tactical displays showing the Devourer formation. "Sir, we're receiving a priority transmission from Vega Station," the communications officer reported. The face that appeared on screen belonged to Council Speaker Zithakalar, the same Zephyrian who had led the laughter during humanity's membership request. His crystalline features showed none of their previous condescension. "Captain Chen, I am Council Speaker Zethkalar of the Galactic Trade Federation. On behalf of all member species, I formally request immediate emergency council session to discuss humanity's technological capabilities and strategic contributions to galactic defense." Chen allowed himself a small smile. "Speaker Zethkalar, I believe Ambassador Vasquez is the appropriate person to handle diplomatic negotiations. However, I can tell you that humanity will be interested in discussing our role in galactic affairs. Captain, your species has demonstrated capabilities that fundamentally change our understanding of what is possible. The Federation would be honored to not only grant humanity full membership, but to discuss leadership roles in our collective defense initiatives." The transmission ended, and Chen looked around the bridge at his crew. They had accomplished something that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. The species that had been dismissed as primitive had saved billions of lives using technology that the galactic powers didn't believe was possible. "Commander Hayes, set course for Earth. I believe our diplomatic team will have some very interesting negotiations ahead of them." As the Titan prepared to leave the Centauri system, Chen took one last look at the drifting remains of the Devourer fleet. The galaxy would never again underestimate the species that had crawled out of a gravity well using chemical rockets and had somehow learned to manipulate the light of stars themselves. Humanity had proven that true technological advancement came not from building bigger weapons, but from understanding the fundamental forces that governed reality. They had shown that courage, imagination, and determination could overcome any odds when innocent lives hung in the balance. The galaxy would never be the same.